The twin suns of Zintheria painted the royal city in gold and violet. Crystal towers rose high into the clouds and silver ships drifted slowly through the glowing sky. Inside the grand palace, thousands of guests gathered in the throne hall. It was the most powerful place in the galaxy, home of the Zintherian Empire ruled by Emperor Valtor, a being feared by many worlds. At the center of the hall stood his daughter, Princess Lyra. Her eyes were sharp and bright like burning ice, and her silver hair shimmered with light. She was beautiful, proud, and unbroken. But today she was also furious. Before the entire royal court, Lyra faced her father. Her voice echoed across the chamber. "Father, I'll marry anyone." "But not the human." Gasps filled the hall. The alien nobles whispered among themselves. The emperor's face stayed calm, but his dark eyes burned with silent power. "You will do as your empire commands," he said slowly. "This marriage is not about your desire. It is about peace. Humanity and Zintheria must unite. You are the bridge between our worlds." Lyra took a step forward. "Peace with them?" she said with disgust. "Humans are weak. They live short lives and act like children. They pollute their own world. How can we trust them with ours?" Her words cut through the air like knives. But the emperor did not move. "Your duty is not to trust but to obey," he said. "The human envoy will arrive tomorrow. You will greet him as your future husband." Lyra's hands trembled, but she hid it behind her royal calm. The hall was silent. Even the guards dared not breathe. Then she lifted her chin and said softly, "No." It was only one word, but it felt like thunder. The emperor's face hardened. "You defy your father?" "Your emperor? I defy the idea of binding myself to a creature who cannot even touch the stars without burning," she said coldly. "I am Zintherian. I was born to rule, not to kneel beside a human." The courtiers gasped again. Some admired her courage. Others saw only foolish pride. The emperor rose from his throne, his long cloak flowing behind him. "You speak as if pride can protect you," he said. "You forget what humans have done. They fought their way out of their own chaos. They built ships, they tamed fire, they survived what would have destroyed others. Do not mistake softness for weakness, my daughter." Lyra's eyes burned with tears she refused to show. "Then you admire them more than your own blood," she whispered. The emperor turned his back. "This discussion is over. You will marry the human ambassador, Captain Aaron Blake. Tomorrow you will smile before the cameras of two worlds. If you refuse again, you will lose your title and your place in this empire." Lyra's heart pounded in her chest. She wanted to scream, to break something, to run far away, but she bowed her head just enough to hide her anger. "As you command." "My emperor," the court bowed as Valtor left the hall. Lyra stood alone, her breath shaking, her fists clenched. When the hall finally emptied, her attendant Seren approached quietly. "My princess," she whispered, "you should not speak against the emperor before the council." Lyra turned to her. "He would sell me to a human, Seren. To a human. Does he think peace can be bought with my life?" Seren looked down. "They say this man is different. A soldier from Earth, brave and kind." Lyra laughed bitterly. "Kind? Then let him marry kindness itself. I am not for him." That night, Lyra stood alone on her balcony watching the stars. The wind carried the hum of the city below, the pulse of ships, the whisper of plasma engines. She looked at the sky where Earth's small sun shone faintly in the distance. Somewhere out there, her unwanted husband was traveling toward her world. She clenched her jaw. "He will find no love here," she murmured. "No human will ever claim the blood of Zintheria." But deep inside, a small flicker of doubt began to burn, a feeling she could not name. Somewhere far away, on a ship cutting through the void, Captain Aaron Blake looked at a photo of the alien princess he was to marry. He smiled sadly. "I don't want this either," he whispered. "But maybe peace is worth a little pain." The stars shimmered between them. Two souls destined to meet, not in love, not yet, but in conflict. And so the stage was set. A proud princess who hated humans, and a human who carried the fate of two worlds in his hands. Ending hook. When their eyes meet for the first time, will pride burn brighter than love? Or will humanity prove her wrong? The next morning came with the sound of thunder in the sky. A silver starship broke through the clouds, glowing with blue fire as it descended toward the Zintherian capital. The royal city watched in silence. For the first time in history, a human ship had landed on their sacred world. Princess Lyra stood on the palace balcony, watching the ship touch down in the landing court. Her heart was cold. Her hands were clasped tightly behind her back, but her nails dug into her palms. She had sworn she would never bow to a human, and she intended to keep that promise. Behind her, her attendant Siren whispered softly, "He's here, my princess." "The human ambassador." Captain Aaron Blake. Lyra didn't turn around. "Let him enjoy his moment of glory," she said with a sharp tone. "Soon he will learn that humans do not belong in our world." Moments later, the great doors of the royal hall opened. The court gathered once again. Soldiers in silver armor lined the walls, and banners of the Zintherian Empire hung high from the ceiling. The emperor sat on his golden throne, silent and powerful. Then, the human entered. Captain Aaron Blake stepped forward with calm dignity. He was tall, dressed in a clean navy uniform with silver edges. His eyes were steady, his face calm. Unlike the other humans Lyra had seen in broadcasts, he looked neither weak nor fearful. He bowed low before the emperor. "Your Majesty," he said in a clear voice, "it is an honor to stand in your presence on behalf of Earth." The emperor nodded. "Captain Blake, welcome to Zintheria. May this day mark the beginning of peace between our worlds." Aaron smiled slightly. "That is my deepest hope, Your Majesty." Then his eyes turned toward Lyra. For a moment, everything else seemed to vanish. The crowd, the lights, the sound, and all faded into silence. The princess stood still, her gaze cold and unyielding. He saw not kindness, but fire and pride. Lyra's heart skipped once, but she quickly hid it behind a mask of royal arrogance. She gave a slow, shallow nod, not of respect, but of duty. "So this is the human," she said quietly, though her voice carried through the hall. "He looks ordinary," whispers rippled through the audience. The human envoy insulted before the throne. It was a dangerous start. Aaron didn't react. Instead, he smiled gently. "Ordinary, perhaps," he said, "but I hope my actions will speak louder than my appearance." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "We shall see." The emperor watched both of them with hidden interest. "You will dine together tonight," he ordered. "The ceremony will be announced tomorrow. Until then, you are guests of each other's worlds. Do not disappoint me." When the gathering ended, Lyra turned to leave without another word. But Aaron followed a few steps behind her. Outside in the crystal courtyard, she finally stopped. "Why are you here, human?" she asked sharply. "You cannot truly wish to marry someone who despises your kind." Aaron looked up at the twin sons. "I don't," he admitted quietly. "But peace demands sacrifices. If this marriage keeps our worlds from destroying each other, then I will play my part." Lyra frowned, surprised by his honesty. "You think peace is built on forced unions?" "I think peace starts with courage," he said. "Even when both sides are afraid." She stared at him for a long moment, searching for weakness. But his eyes did not waver. They were calm, not with pride, but with quiet strength. "Humans are strange," she said finally. "You speak as if you understand the universe." Aaron smiled faintly. "Maybe we don't understand it. We just keep trying." Lyra turned away. "Then keep trying, Captain. You will need it here." That night, in the grand dining hall, the two sat across from each other at a long silver table. Alien music filled the air, soft, haunting notes that echoed like distant stars. The Emperor spoke of treaties and alliances, but Lyra said little. She only watched Aaron, trying to read him. He spoke with respect to the court, never once losing his composure, even when others mocked him. When one alien noble laughed at human weakness, Aaron only replied calmly, "Weakness is how strength learns to grow." Some aliens laughed louder, but Lyra didn't, for a reason she couldn't explain. His words stayed with her. Later, as she walked through the quiet halls, Siren whispered beside her. "He did not act like a fool." "My princess," Lyra frowned. "No, he did not." She looked out toward the stars again. "But that changes nothing. I will not be his." Far above the palace, in orbit, hidden ships watched the scene through secret lenses. Among them were alien warlords who hated the peace treaty. One of them whispered into his communicator, "Let them marry if they must. The human will not live long enough to see the ceremony." The morning light poured through the palace windows, painting the walls in soft silver. The city of Zintheria woke to another day of peace, or so it seemed. Inside the palace, tension was growing quietly, like a storm hiding behind the clouds. Princess Lyra sat in the royal garden, surrounded by tall, glowing flowers that shimmered in blue light. Her mind, however, was far from calm. Every word from the human's mouth still echoed in her thoughts. Peace starts with courage even when both sides are afraid. She hated that his words made sense. She hated even more that his calmness haunted her. Her attendant, Serene, approached carefully. "Princess, the Emperor has requested you to escort Captain Blake through the capital today. He wishes the people to see unity between you." Lyra frowned. "Unity? Let them see what a human looks like. Maybe then they will understand my disgust." But duty was duty. She rose, her royal armor glinting under the suns, and walked toward the landing court where the human waited. Aaron Blake stood there, looking around with quiet awe. Zintharia's towers shimmered like glass mountains, and the sky was filled with ships shaped like wings of light. He turned as Lyra approached. "Good morning, Princess," he said with his usual calm smile. "Captain," she replied coldly, "try not to get lost. My world is not as simple as yours." "I'll try to keep up," he said with gentle humor. Lyra led him through the city streets, where alien citizens stopped and stared. Some bowed to her. Others glared at the human, their faces filled with dislike. Whispers followed them wherever they went. "Why do they hate us so much?" Aaron asked softly. Lyra didn't answer at first. Then she said, "They remember the wars, the chaos your species caused when you first reached the stars. They see you as destroyers of balance. And what do you see?" he asked. She looked at him sharply. "I see the same. A creature that doesn't belong in our world." He nodded. "Then I'll do my best to change that." His words were simple, but his tone carried quiet strength. Lyra didn't know why it bothered her. It wasn't pride or arrogance or aim. It was something else, something human. That evening, the Emperor held a small event in the Hall of Harmony, a symbolic gesture of peace. Lyra was forced to stand beside Aaron while alien leaders and human envoys exchanged greetings. But suddenly the lights flickered. A deep rumble shook the palace floor. Guards shouted, "Security breach in the West Wing." In the chaos, a cloaked figure appeared near the doorway. A Zintharian noble holding a plasma blade. His eyes burned with hatred for Zintharia. He shouted, lunging toward Aaron. Lyra's instincts took over. Before she even thought, she threw herself between them. The blade grazed her shoulder, cutting through her armor. Guards swarmed the hall, seizing the attacker. Aaron caught her before she fell. "You're hurt!" "It's nothing," she said through gritted teeth, pushing him away. "I didn't do it for you." But her voice trembled. The Emperor rushed to her side, his face pale with anger. "This is treason," he growled. "Take him away. And find out who sent him." Aaron looked around the room. He could see the hatred in the eyes of the nobles. He understood. Some among them wanted peace destroyed. When the hall emptied, he turned to Lyra. "You saved my life," he said quietly. She looked away. "I saved my empire from shame. If you had died here, peace would die with you." Aaron smiled faintly. "Then I owe my life to your pride." Lyra glared at him, but there was no real anger this time, only confusion. Later that night, Lyra sat alone in her chamber, her shoulder bandaged. She replayed the scene again and again. She could still feel the warmth of his hand when he caught her. Humans were not supposed to be this calm, this brave. He should have been afraid, but he wasn't. For the first time, she felt unsure of everything she believed. At the same moment, Aaron stood on the palace balcony, looking at the stars. His communicator buzzed with a message from Earth Command. "Warning. Reports of unrest inside Zintharian court. Be cautious." "Trust no one," he sighed. "Trust no one." "But I already trust her," he whispered. The stars glowed brighter, unaware that fate was slowly pulling two worlds and two hearts closer. The night after the attack was quiet. Too quiet. The grand halls of the Zintharian palace, usually filled with light and music, now echoed with whispers and fear. The Emperor had doubled the guards, but Princess Lyra felt no safer. Somewhere inside her own palace, traitors were hiding. Lyra sat near her window, the bandage still fresh on her shoulder. She could see the twin moons glowing outside, bathing the city in pale light. She touched the scar gently, remembering the moment the blade nearly struck Aaron. Why had she saved him? Pride, duty, or something she could not yet name? Her door chimed softly. "Enter," she said. Captain Aaron Blake stepped in, his face calm but serious. "Princess, forgive me for disturbing you. I came to thank you again for what you did." Lyra turned away. "I already told you. I did not do it for you. Aaron smiled faintly. Then allow me to thank you anyway. You risked your life. That matters no matter the reason. Lyra sighed. Humans and their emotions. You speak as if everything must mean something. Maybe that's what keeps us alive, he said softly. For a moment, silence filled the air. Then Aaron's tone changed. Princess, I believe the attack wasn't random. I think someone inside your court wants this treaty destroyed. Lyra frowned. You speak of treason. Yes, he said. I found a hidden transmission in the communication logs. A signal sent from inside the palace to an unknown ship in orbit. The message was coded in your people's own language. Lyra's heart froze. You're saying one of my own betrayed us? Aaron nodded. I don't know who yet. But if we don't find them soon, there will be another attempt. Maybe on you, maybe on me. She looked at him carefully. You risk much by telling me this. You could be accused of lying, grind, or spying. Aaron met her gaze. I'd rather risk that than let more blood be spilled. Lyra stood slowly, her silver robe flowing behind her like liquid light. Then we will find the traitor. But no one must know we are working together. Aaron smiled. Agreed. They left the palace through a hidden passage that only the royal family knew. A narrow tunnel carved into glowing stone. Outside, the city stretched below them, alive with neon rivers of energy and towers reaching toward the stars. They moved through the shadowed streets, blending into the crowds. For the first time, Lyra walked among her people not as a princess but as a silent observer. She saw how they looked at her, proud yet fearful, loyal yet burdened by the war that had nearly come. Aaron watched her quietly. You care for them, he said softly. Of course I do, she replied. They are my blood, my duty. But do they love you, he asked, or fear you? She stopped walking. His words hit her like a blade. You speak boldly for a man surrounded by aliens who could end you in a heartbeat. Aaron shrugged lightly. If truth kills me, then so be it. Lyra wanted to be angry, but instead she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Respect. They finally reached the old communication chamber beneath the council hall. The air was cold, filled with the hum of ancient machines. Lyra placed her hand on the crystal console and glowing runes appeared. There, Aaron said, pointing at a faint red symbol. That's the transmission code I traced. Lyra's eyes widened. That code? It belongs to Lord Zarin, one of my father's advisors. He's the one who insulted humans during dinner, Aaron recalled. Yes, Lyra whispered, and he commands half the Imperial fleet. Before they could speak further, the chamber door opened. Guards stormed in. At their lead was Lord Zarin himself. Well, he said with a cruel smile. The princess and her human pet. How touching. Aaron reached for his weapon, but Lyra stopped him. Zarin, you dare spy on your princess? I dare save our empire, Zarin sneered. You are blinded by weakness. Humans will destroy us, and you bring one into our sacred halls. He raised his weapon. Before he could fire, Aaron lunged forward, knocking the blast aside. The energy beam struck the ceiling, sending sparks everywhere. Lyra moved quickly, using her telekinetic power to hurl a broken console at Zarin, throwing him back against the wall. The guards hesitated, unsure whom to follow. Lyra stood tall, her voice sharp as a blade. By order of the royal bloodline, Lord Zarin is under arrest for treason. Aaron's voice rang out beside hers, strong and steady. If peace must be protected by humans and aliens together, then let this be our beginning. The guards lowered their weapons. Zarin was dragged away, screaming curses. Later, standing under the night sky, Lyra turned to Aaron. You risked your life again, she said quietly. He smiled. You saved mine first. Seems fair. She looked up at the stars, endless, bright, and alive. For the first time, she didn't see them as distant lights. She saw possibilities. Maybe, she said softly. Humans aren't as foolish as I thought. Aaron chuckled. Careful, princess. That almost sounded like a compliment. Lyra smiled, a small, rare smile, and turned away. Don't get used to it, Captain. The next sunrise brought no peace to Zintheria. The twin suns rose behind black smoke drifting over the city. Whispers of rebellion spread through the palace like poison in the air. The arrest of Lord Zarin had shocked the Empire, but it also awakened anger among those who secretly supported him. Princess Lyra stood in the Emperor's war chamber, her face pale but calm. Her father's voice thundered through the room. "You should have stayed out of this, Lyra," Emperor Valtor shouted. "By involving yourself, you've turned this court into a battlefield." Lyra bowed her head but didn't back down. "I only sought to protect the peace treaty. Lord Zarin wanted war, father. He betrayed you." Valtor slammed his fist on the table, shaking the room. "And now half the fleet calls him a martyr. They believe you and the human are conspirators. They think you've chosen Earth over Zintheria." Lyra's heart sank. "That's not true." The Emperor turned away, his voice suddenly tired. "Truth does not matter when power is at stake." He paused, then said quietly, "You will stay confined in your chamber until I can calm the council." Lyra stepped forward. "Father, please, enough!" he roared. Guards entered the chamber, their silver armor gleaming. "Escort the princess to her quarters. Until further notice, she is not to leave the palace." Lyra's chest tightened. She looked into her father's eyes, searching for mercy. There was none. As the guards led her away, she whispered, "You are caging your own daughter, not your enemy." But Valtor did not answer. Far across the palace, Captain Aaron Blake was pacing the observation deck, unaware of Lyra's imprisonment. The skies above the capital flashed with strange signals, red and violet pulses that marked the movement of rebel fleets. His communicator buzzed again. "Captain Blake, this is Earth Command. We've intercepted transmissions from Zintherian ships preparing for conflict. You are in danger. Evacuate immediately." Aaron frowned. "I can't leave. The princess risked everything to stop this war. I owe her my loyalty." "That's not your mission," the voice replied. "Your mission is survival." He turned off the communicator. "Then consider the mission changed." That night, explosions lit up the horizon. Rebellion had begun. Loyalist forces battled Zarin's followers across the city. Energy cannons roared from the towers, and the sound of war filled the air. In her locked chamber, Lyra watched in horror as the city she loved burned. She pressed her palm to the window. "Father, what have we done?" Suddenly her door slid open. A figure stepped inside. Aaron, his uniform torn and dusty. Her eyes widened. "How did you—" "I had help from someone who still believes in peace," he said quickly. "We don't have much time. The rebels are moving toward the palace. They want to capture you and use you as a symbol." Lyra stood frozen. "If they capture me, the Empire will fall. Then we don't let that happen." She looked at him, her pride breaking for the first time. "You're a fool for coming here," he smiled. "I've been called worse." Together they ran through the burning halls, smoke and fire surrounding them. Guards loyal to the Emperor fought desperately to hold back the rebels. The palace walls shook with explosions. As they reached the lower corridors, a wounded soldier stumbled toward Lyra. "Your Majesty," he gasped. "The Emperor. He's been taken to the command vault." "The rebels are breaking through." Lyra's blood ran cold. "Father." Aaron grabbed her arm. "We'll get him out, come on." They fought their way through the chaos, dodging collapsing walls and laser fire. Lyra used her psychic energy to shield them from falling debris, her strength fading with every step. When they reached the command vault, the doors were half destroyed. Inside, Emperor Valtor stood surrounded by rebel soldiers. At their front was Lord Zarin, alive, wounded, but smiling cruelly. "You should have killed me when you had the chance," Zarin hissed. "Now your empire dies by your own daughter's hands." Lyra stepped forward, furious. "I never wanted war. You twisted my rebellion into your weapon." Zarin laughed. "The people only see that the princess stood beside a human. That's all the proof they need." Aaron raised his weapon. "Then maybe they'll see what happens when a human fights for her instead." Before Zarin could reply, Aaron fired. The shot struck the wall beside him, throwing him backward. The room erupted in chaos, soldiers shouting, blasts of light cutting through the air. Valtor, wounded but alive, staggered toward his daughter. "Lyra, go! Save yourself!" "I won't leave you." He grabbed her hand, his voice breaking. "You must. The Empire needs hope, not ashes." Then a final explosion tore through the vault. The blast threw Aaron and Lyra across the floor. When the dust settled, the Emperor was gone, buried beneath the ruins. Lyra screamed his name, but there was no answer. Aaron pulled her up. "We have to go. The rebels are closing in." Tears burned in her eyes. "My father is dead. My world is dying." Aaron looked at her with quiet strength. "Then we'll save what's left and together." She met his gaze, and for the first time she didn't see a human. She saw hope. The skies of Xantheria burned red. The once golden towers now lay in ruins, and the air trembled with the sound of warships firing from above. The great empire, once feared across the stars, was collapsing into chaos. In the midst of the smoke and fire, Princess Lyra and Captain Aaron Blake fled through the shattered streets. The night air stung their lungs and the ground shook with every explosion. Around them, rebels fought loyalist soldiers in a desperate struggle for control. Lyra's silver gown was torn, her face streaked with dust and grief. Behind her, Aaron moved with steady determination, keeping her close. "We can't outrun them forever," she said, panting. Aaron looked ahead at the broken skyline. "We don't need to outrun them. We need to survive long enough to call for help." Lyra frowned. "Help from whom?" "My people are divided. My father is dead. The empire is falling apart." Aaron stopped, turning to face her. His voice was calm but strong. "Not your people, mine." She stared at him in disbelief. "You can't mean—" "I sent a signal before we left the palace," he said. "Earthfleet received it. They're on their way." Lyra shook her head. "Humans against our ships. They'll be destroyed before they even reach orbit." Aaron's eyes burned with quiet resolve. "Then they'll die trying. Because that's what humans do. We fight for what matters, even when the odds are impossible." Something in his tone silenced her. For the first time, she saw not weakness in humanity, but something far greater, the kind of strength her empire had long forgotten. They reached an old landing platform outside the city. The night wind howled, carrying the distant cries of war. The platform was cracked and overgrown with alien vines, but Aaron's communicator blinked with a faint signal. He pressed the button. "This is Captain Aaron Blake to Earthfleet. Coordinates 49 Delta. We have the princess. The Emperor is dead. The Empire is collapsing. We need extraction and now." Static answered him at first. Then a familiar voice crackled through. "Copy that, Captain. Fleet Commander Rhodes here. We're entering orbit, but we're under heavy fire. Hold your position." Aaron smiled faintly. "We'll hold it." Lyra looked at him. "You humans truly don't know fear, do you?" Aaron turned toward the horizon. "Oh, we know it. We just don't let it stop us." Moments later, the dark clouds split open. Dozens of human ships burst through the atmosphere, sleek silver vessels streaking with blue thrusters. They flew in formation, their lights flashing like stars reborn. From the ground, alien rebels fired at them, launching plasma missiles and beams of light. The human ships weaved between the blasts, returning fire with precise strikes. Lyra watched in stunned silence. "They came." "They actually came," Aaron nodded. "I told you. We never leave our own behind." A massive explosion rocked the city as the rebels' command ship fired on the human fleet. The ground beneath them cracked and Lyra stumbled. Aaron caught her, pulling her close as the blast wave rolled past. "Stay with me," he shouted. She looked up at him, her voice shaking. "Why do you care so much?" "You could have left. You could have saved yourself." Aaron met her eyes. "Because somewhere along the way, you stopped being just a mission." For a heartbeat, time froze between them. Two souls from different worlds standing together as everything burned. Then a sharp voice came through the communicator. "Captain Blake, we can't hold much longer. Get to the extraction point!" Aaron looked toward the rising smoke. The extraction site is beyond the bridge, but the bridge was gone, half of it destroyed, the rest burning. Lyra took a deep breath. "There's another way. The underground tunnel beneath the river. It leads to the old defense tower. Can we reach it? If we move now." They ran again, the sound of explosions chasing them through the ruins. The tunnel was dark and damp, filled with echoes of the city falling above. When they finally reached the tower, they climbed to the top. From there, they could see the full horror. Half the capital in flames, ships burning in the sky, the Empire dying before their eyes. Lyra stood silent, her heart heavy. "This is my fault. My pride began this chain." Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder. "No, pride didn't start this war, fear did. And now we have to end it." Above them, the human fleet regrouped. Their flagship, the Dauntless, descended through the smoke, its engines roaring. A message echoed across the battlefield. "This is Earthfleet to all Xantherian forces. Ceasefire. We are not your enemies. We come for peace, not conquest." The human ships released shimmering shields of energy, blocking rebel fire and protecting the innocent below. The sight stunned even the alien soldiers, many lowering their weapons in confusion. Lyra watched with wide eyes. They fight not to destroy, but to protect, Aaron smiled softly. That's humanity's greatest weapon. For the first time, Lyra's eyes filled with tears, not of sorrow, but of realization. As the sun began to rise again, the battle slowly faded. The rebels, leaderless and exhausted, retreated into the mountains. Human ships hovered above the ruined city, offering aid to both sides. Lyra turned to Aaron, her voice trembling. You saved my world when my own people could not. Aaron shook his head. No, Princess, you did. You stood for what was right even when it cost you everything. She looked at him, really looked, and saw not just a human, but the soul of something unbreakable. The fires of Zintheria had finally dimmed, but the sky was still filled with smoke. The capital lay in ruins, towers shattered, ships fallen, and the once proud banners of the empire torn apart by war. Yet amid the destruction, a fragile calm began to rise. The human fleet hovered in the clouds above, silent now, watching over the wounded planet like guardians of peace. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of the old defense tower, wrapped in a cloak of silver. Her eyes looked toward the horizon, where the twin suns rose slowly over the wreckage. She could still feel the ache of loss, her father gone. Her people divided, but deep inside something new was growing. Hope. Behind her, Captain Aaron Blake walked quietly, his uniform scorched, his arm bandaged. He looked tired, but his spirit was unbroken. They've stopped fighting, he said softly. The human fleet is helping your people rebuild. Maybe this war is finally over. Lyra turned to him. Wars don't end with silence, Aaron. They end when hearts change. And hearts are slow to listen. Aaron smiled faintly. Then maybe you can teach them. Lyra's voice was gentle now. And who will teach me? Aaron looked at her, his eyes filled with warmth. Maybe we'll teach each other. For a moment, neither spoke. The wind carried the faint hum of ships and the cries of survivors rebuilding below. The world was healing, painfully, slowly, but truly. But peace was not yet complete. From far above, in the dark edges of the sky, a hidden ship stirred, the last remnant of Lord Zaren's rebellion. Inside, a bitter commander gave a final order. Target the capital. End this false peace. Let the princess and the human burn together. The ship's cannons glowed red as it prepared to fire. Down below, alarms blared across the city once more. Lyra looked up, her heart freezing. No, not again. Aaron ran to the edge of the balcony, pulling out his communicator. Fleet Command, we've got an enemy ship charging weapons. Coordinates incoming. The reply came fast but grim. We see it, Captain. It's too high for our guns. You'll have to disable it manually before it fires. Aaron turned to Lyra. We need a ship. Now. She hesitated. That's suicide. You'll never reach it in time. Maybe not, he said. But if I don't try, everyone dies. Lyra grabbed his arm, her voice breaking. No, Aaron, you've done enough. Let me go. He shook his head. You've already lost too much. Let me do this. Tears filled her eyes. I once said I'd marry anyone but the human, and now, I can't imagine a world without you. Aaron smiled softly. Then let's make sure there is a world left to imagine. Minutes later, their small shuttle launched from the surface, cutting through the clouds toward the rebel ship. Inside the cockpit, the glow of the stars surrounded them. Lyra sat beside him, her hands trembling. You're insane, you know that? Aaron grinned. That's what makes us human. As they approached the enemy vessel, beams of plasma shot past them. The shuttle shook violently. Aaron dodged the blast with sharp turns, the engines screaming. We're hit, Lyra shouted. I know. He pushed the throttle forward. Hold on! They rammed into the rebel ship's docking bay with a crash, sparks flying everywhere. The doors burst open and they stormed inside, weapons ready. The corridors were dark and empty, until armed rebels appeared, blocking their path. Lyra's eyes glowed with power. With a wave of her hand, energy rippled through the air, sending enemies crashing into the walls. Aaron moved fast, disarming the rest. They reached the control core, a glowing sphere pulsing with red light. There, Aaron said. If we shut that down, the ship can't fire. Lyra touched the console, her fingers glowing with psychic energy. It's locked to my people's code. I can disable it, Conti, but I'll need time. I'll buy you that time. Aaron took cover by the door as more rebels rushed in. Laser fire filled the air. He fought fiercely, every move driven by one thought. Protect her no matter what. Then a final blast struck his side. He fell to one knee, clutching his wound. Lyra turned in horror. "Aaron!" "Keep going," he shouted. "Finish it!" Her eyes filled with tears. She pressed her hand harder to the console, pouring all her strength into the system. The red lights flickered, then turned blue. The cannons went silent. The ship was neutralized. Aaron collapsed beside her, blood staining his uniform. Lyra caught him in her arms, trembling. "It's done," she whispered. "You saved us," he smiled weakly. "No, we saved them." She held him close, her tears falling onto his face. "Don't you dare die now. I haven't even said what I feel." He opened his eyes just enough to see her smile through the tears. "You just did." Hours later, the rebel ship burned harmlessly in the sky, breaking apart as the human fleet secured the victory. In the days that followed, peace truly began, not through politics, but through sacrifice. At the great unity ceremony, Lyra stood before both humans and aliens, her voice strong yet full of emotion. "I once swore I would never love a human," she said, "but a human showed me what love truly means: courage, compassion, and hope." The crowd was silent as she raised her gaze toward the stars. "Let this peace be our promise, to remember not who we were, but what we can become together." As the twin suns set that evening, a human ship soared across the sky, leaving a trail of light behind it, a reminder of the man who changed the heart of a princess in the fate of two worlds. Final line, narration style. In the end, it was not power that saved the galaxy, but the simple, stubborn heart of humanity.